It is a drought for the ages. And it's not just here. The Queen City also needs quenching, and Hotlanta is bone dry. We already know what Raleigh's doing about the drought, but what's everyone else doing? We are packing our bags and hitting the road to find out. First stop, Charlotte, population 1.6 million.
We were on the watch for a while.
Starting last spring and through the long, dry summer.
We got to the point where we were under 40% of available storage.
That's when Charlotte's water conservation manager knew drastic measures had to be taken. By September's end, they went from voluntary restrictions to mandatory stage 3. No outdoor watering at all. No car washing, no pool filling. No exceptions. It worked. Usage dropped by almost 50%.
We've somewhat stabilized.
It was a far different story in Raleigh. At that same time last year, we could still water our lawns and wash cars in our driveways. Another difference between Raleigh and Charlotte, we pay a flat billing rate. They are on a tiered system.
Our first tier is 0 to 11. 11 to 22, and then over 22.
The higher the tier of use, the more the water costs. Raleigh doesn't have the software to do that yet. Then there's how the city's handled the early forecasts.
You don't have time to develop a drought response plan in the middle of a drought. You better do it ahead of time.
And they did, even bringing in citizen focus groups.
We asked them to help us prioritize water use.
From that, they realized showing graphs and charts on bills which compare monthly water use was beneficial.
We do water conservation bill inserts every month. And it is our #1 source of information for our customers.
In Raleigh, Eyewitness News had to fight to get our hands on the list of the city's biggest water users. In Charlotte, it's public record. One of the biggest, UNC Charlotte, where 23,000 students use nearly 500,000 gallons of water a day, and where low-flow shower heads and faucets are a must and also free.
We get those through Charlotte-Mecklenburg Utilities, so we order them.
Give them to you?
Oh, yes. They just give them to us, and all we have to do is install them.
In fact, Charlotte's been so proactive, even tougher water restrictions being considered this month have been delayed.
What measures we've put into place are working.
But are they working in Atlanta? Here, 5 million metro residents get most of their water from Lake Lanier.
This is the drought of history right here.
But even though the lake is 20 feet below normal, water has to be released into the Chattahoochee River every day, or millions depending on it downstream in Alabama and Florida will suffer.
The state has an overall program. You can be either more stringent in that program or you can request variances.
Atlanta chose to be more stringent last summer. It already had odd, even watering days. But like Charlotte, in September, all outdoor watering, including car washing and pool filling, was banned. Atlanta also bills like Charlotte.
We have a tiered structure, as almost all the metropolitan area does, but it's set specifically to encourage conservation.
As soon as we arrived at our hotel in Atlanta, we were urged to conserve. These tip cards distributed by the Atlanta Hotels Council remind guests to do their part by doing things like taking shorter showers or reusing bath towels.
We are world's busiest airport and we live up to it every day.
Hartsfield-Jackson Airport's also the biggest water user in the city, going through nearly 1 million gallons a day in the main terminal alone. That's why the state made sure even the high-efficiency toilets were recalibrated so they wouldn't overflush.
We employ what we call a leak patrol.
This is the largest exhibit in the world. It's actually in the Guinness Book of World Records.
The world's largest aquarium is doing its part.
All of the exhibits recycle and reuse the water.
Visitors now use waterless urinals and low-flow faucets. Even the condensation from the roof is reused.
All of the water that's in the air is recaptured and then reused in the cooling of the building.
Georgia leaders have asked everyone, residents and businesses, to cut back by at least 10%, and the city of Atlanta is offering incentives to do so.
We've put $1 million into a toilet retrofit program.
From Atlanta to Charlotte to Raleigh, conservation will need to continue as the drought does. Still, tonight, as Raleigh faces even tighter restrictions, Charlotte's holding steady and Atlanta's actually easing theirs. It makes some wonder if there are lessons to be learned from our neighbors now before it gets any worse. Rebecca Hall, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.